Hello, welcome to the First Issue Club. We're your weekly comic book podcast. We're just like Sue Storm. We love a good read. It's the week of...
It's the week of something or other.
Excellent, excellent.
And we've got another edition of the segment that took the comic book community by absolute storm.
By now, you've read the articles. You've seen the news segments.
Vulture has written 4 different articles about it.
We did not... Well, I mean, we kind of predicted that this would be a seismic shakeup,
Right.
this list, because it's the definitive, de facto, bulletproof list of the top 100 best things
about
comic books.
comic books.
Comic book, damn it.
We're all here.
This podcast, as always, is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company's Space Camper Cosmic IPA. You're hearing some sips.
Exquisite mouthfeel.
Anything about the taste that you would like to comment on, Vargas?
We poisoned yours.
You know, well, I was going to say... I love the crispness. I love the refreshingness. I love the hoppiness. I love everything about it.
These are all the things that make a great IPA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dry and fruity at the same time.
Just like my uncle. He's like a...
He lives in the
He
desert.
has an aged Merlot. Him and his husband, Garrett, are wonderful people. Thank you, Boulevard Brewing Company. I love you.
And I'm in love with you. Last time we left off at 75.
Yep.
Let's kick things off today at 74 and get right to our list of best comic book tings.
Tarry no further. Let us go.
Who's up first, fellas?
I want to give Andy.
Oh, I get the first one?
Yeah.
All right. My number
74.
74, thank you. The look your friends give you during the post-credit scene of a Marvel movie.
Heavy is the burden.
Yeah,
The weight of a nerd in those post-credit scenes.
yeah.
And let's say you don't know the reference, then it's like,
Oh, it's even worse.
it's
Yeah.
terrible.
Again, we go back to what I said earlier. Make it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah,
Make up characters, make up scenarios because your family doesn't know.
yeah. I'll never forget. I went with, I think, Brian and Brendan, and then like our significant others to go see something, Avengers Endgame or something, right?
Right.
And it was like the post-credit scene hit, and then I just saw like 5 heads lean around and like look at me down the aisle, and it's like you feel those eyes burning a hole in the side, and you know the conversation is just gonna be what that thing was for
Yeah.
like 25 minutes.
Yes. Right.
It's like you're expected to give like a TED Talk after the movie.
Yeah.
Just like, hello, welcome everyone to the post-credit scene explanation segment. I'm your host, Andy.
I'll never forget at the end of the first Avengers movie. That's the one where they reveal Thanos.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody in front of me leaned over to their girlfriend and was like, "That's Galactus."
Oh, God. Whoop. Bummer.
And she was just like, "Okay, cool." Like, it doesn't matter if you're wrong or right. Like, you're mansplaining a credit scene to your girlfriend who's not interested anyway.
At the end of Eternals, we had the 2 cameos at the end of there.
Yeah.
And people looked at me and I went, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not fucking know. Like, I'm good at comic books. I'm not that good. Like, I don't know who the fuck those people are.
Well, and it's become even a step further, right? You think about the end credit. Yeah, there was Eternals also.
Yeah.
Where it's like Mahershala Ali's voice
Right.
as
In the
so-
Ebony Blade, which, okay, I knew what the Ebony Blade was,
right.
but like, you know, Pip and Star Fox show up, you're like, at a first glance, you're like, I don't know what the fuck that is supposed to be.
But Kara asked me, she was like, "Who was that guy talking?" And I was like, "I don't know. It was just a voiceover."
I didn't
Like,
know either.
Yeah.
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 And then read the headlines later like it was supposed to be some no-brainer that I was excited about.
You idiot! It's obviously Blade off screen.
Yeah.
Dumb piece of crap.
But when you get it and can explain it,
It's the best.
That's the 74th best thing about comic books.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I absolutely love it. Coming in at number 73, nothing quite hits. Aside from, 1 through 72.
And a Space Camper IPA.
And a Space Camper IPA. Like a secret variant cover.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Especially when you've wandered into your shop and picked up the A cover, come home, and then realize later that, I got the one that has the teal letters Z.
I got the Carnage goop on my letters.
Yeah, that's right. That was a big one for Marvel for a minute there during an event tie-in. But if anyone doesn't know, secret variant is just when they do a version that is a lot like the main cover, but they tweak one thing really small. And the idea is typically that you kind of like happen to get one or the other before stores know to like pull all those things or whatever else that they end up on eBay. Like you actually have a fair shake at something worth a little more money.
Would this be in the same realm, or would this be its own entry? Certainly not in 75 through 50 right now. But the surprise drop, like Die, or Solid Blood, the fake Robert Kirkman comic book that he put out, like now that I'm saying it, it might be its own entry of just like no one knew this comic book was coming.
Yeah,
and then just kind of you went on a Wednesday and you're just like, oop.
Yeah.
Surprise comic, everyone.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was super pleased when a Moon Knight comic was on the shelf, and I had no idea it was coming out. That was great. I loved that.
Gotcha.
I'll never forget, talking about secret variants.
Yeah.
I went to, when Department of Truth 1 came out, they did a secret for issue 1, because the A cover is JFK with the eyes X. The secret variant is
Lee Harvey
Oswald in the same pose.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find one at my LCS or here in KC. And I was visiting my parents over the holidays or something and went to a shop there. And they only had the secret variants.
Weird.
Like 5 copies of it. And it was a 1 in 10. It was
Bizarre.
a ratio. Yeah.
Not very big Lee Harvey Oswald fans over there.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. So I bought a copy and like I brought it up to the guy and I was like, I can't believe you have this. And he was like, yeah, it was pretty popular. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
The only cover you have is the ratio
the one that's
cover.
the one to get.
Yeah, I got a box full of these.
Yeah.
I'll take them all. Number 72?
We've already lost track.
72.
I'll do the numbers from here on out.
Thanks,
you. Mike.
Greg with number 72.
Knowing obscure references in hip-hop lyrics. Because let me explain.
Okay.
Based upon my vast knowledge of comic book history, characters, and lore, and this goes back to it being such an open community and anyone can get into it and it touches so many lives.
Yep.
Sometimes within hip-hop lyrics, they make references to characters and scenes that if you don't know anything about comic books, you may not get how cool that lyric is.
Okay.
May I give you some examples, please?
I'd love to hear some examples. This really enriches this entry into the list.
This one's from Childish Gambino. You're her ex-man like Cannonball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My credit card that I swipe, True Religions, all on my Nikes. 7:30 train wreck, brain freeze. I'm Capo, Marvel. Got the Iron Man, Stan Lee. That is from Redman.
That was like a jumble of random words to me.
It's a cipher.
Was that a lyric? This is like someone took a handful of words from that magnet fridge thing and just threw them at a fridge.
Well,
how else do you hip hop, my man?
In fairness, it probably sounds a little better coming from not Greg.
That's probably
not to
true.
slam you, but
well, no, it's like Charlton Heston reading Cop Killer. It's like you lose all the flair.
Yeah.
This one from MF Doom. In love with Mary Jane. She's my main thing. Pulled her right from that webhead. What a lame brain.
Yeah.
That's
a sick line. Yeah. And I feel like those are only enhanced if you have like just the nerdy component like already on lock.
On lock. Great.
Like John Locke, the great philosopher.
Oh, not the character from Lost?
Who is a reference to
Coming in at number 71.
Onomatopoeias.
Mm-hmm.
Thwip.
Well, I was gonna put specifically like the really good ones, but
Slam.
So I was reading
the comic book about the donkey.
Oh yeah, Donkey Man. I was reading Toxic Avenger, and he hit somebody with a mop, and the onomatopoeia they put in was mop.
You gotta love it.
Like it's that kind of goofy stuff that that kind of stuff can kind of go over our heads sometimes as comic book readers. You see thwip or schnicked enough times that you don't even read it anymore, but every once in a while you get a really good one.
Yeah.
Kerthwack, that kind of stuff.
Foom.
Yeah, it hits in just the right way.
Yeah.
Makes it all worth it.
It's a great one.
Shucks. That's from like Peanuts, I think.
Sure.
The Charlie Brown one. Next.
Number 70. A successful press. If you don't know what a press is, people put basically a comic book between two big flat irons.
Yeah. And then squish it.
And press out the defects. And sometimes you can revive a dinged comic book from a valueless piece of wrinkled garbage to the mintiest fresh
to a semi-valuable
artifact, and have it graded and slabbed, and it's so choice. Your
Youngblood 4 really needed a press.
Made it shine.
But that is very satisfying when you send a book in to get graded that has a defect on it and it comes back crystal clean.
Mm-hmm.
So I love a successful heat press.
It's kind of a lost art, the press. Like,
you think so?
You have to get the temperature just right. You got to know when to and how long to press it down for. And you got to, like, some of those things will get worse if you press it wrong.
Totally.
And you can just, like, cement the crease instead of getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So kudos to all you pressers out there. I know you're listening.
Especially those guys that are willing to take on, like, the valuable stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You
like
know?
Youngblood's 4.
Yeah, like Mike's Youngblood. No, but anybody who's like, oh yeah, I'll work on your Amazing Fantasy 15. Like, that has to require not only skill, but balls.
Do you think those people are insured when they do that? Or, like, you have to, like, sign a contract that's like, hey, I fucked this up.
You have to, right?
I don't know.
Mike?
I don't know.
Check back next episode when I have all the information on pressing comics.
All right. Next entry, Greg was very particular about the order that we go in tonight. And so this has come to pass what you were gearing up towards. Number 69 on the list is...
comic book conventions.
Okay.
Like, it's such a silly one, but it's, like, huge. It's the big meeting place where we all can get together, hang out, talk about comics, see people we haven't seen for a long time, meet artists, meet writers, buy plastic swords that look like keyblades, like $10 hot dogs. It's perfect. I have been going to conventions for over 10 years now, close to 15, and it's been a blast every time. And we have many episodes dedicated to how to get the best out of your convention experience, which you can go revisit on our feed right now. But I love comic book conventions. They are the cream of the crop for me.
It's good stuff.
Nice. 68. Vargy.
Okay, so what I put, this is going to require a little bit of explanation because it's very specific, but you guys will know what I'm talking about. I put flipping through a box, but not just any box of comics.
Mm-hmm.
There's a feel when all the bags and boards are fresh. And the box isn't, it's not jam-packed or half-empty. Mm-hmm. It's just that right amount of full.
Yep.
And you're just flipping through, and none of the bags are beat up. They're all nice and pristine, and you can just pull that stuff out, and it just slides out in just the right way, slides back in just the right way. It's got that look. It's got that feel.
Perfect for searching.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's too many times you go to a retailer and they're just crammed full of books.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate having to take out like 15 to 30 comic books just to be able to like move through a box.
Well, and when all the bags and boards are like they're all torn up,
Yeah.
from
Right.
people constantly like flipping through it with their fingers and
Yeah. When if they get too compressed, the bags just start sticking to each other.
yeah.
And so then you got to worry about ripping those things apart. It's a mess. But yeah, a perfectly curated box,
Yeah.
as funny as that phrase may be,
Yeah.
perfect.
It's so good.
67 on the list today is going to be,
What a vamp.
as I look through my list, a double page spread reveal.
Oh,
Ooh.
Right?
totally.
Here's the thing about comics. Sometimes it's hard to do a big surprise because you see it a couple panels ahead.
Mm-hmm.
When these artistos can really plan for you to turn the page and then have it like hit you in like one massive piece of art. Like that's such a good moment and a good feeling of something unexpected, and it feels really big and impactful.
Right.
I'll never forget there was like a moment in Immortal Hulk where you turned for a lot of those issues had like big double page spreads where like it was like it's about to get messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And that one had a turn where you were like, this Hulk we're dealing with is a different Hulk than we've seen in the past. This is more of a horror story. And that moment that was just like zoomed in on his like grinning face and was like, you're gonna pay for this.
Yeah.
Like was like, oh no, this is
This ain't your daddy's
he's
Hulk.
not an Avenger here. This is like a monster. And yeah, I think there's a real art to that, and when those hit, it's 67 worthy.
Totally.
There's a double page spread in Crossover where they go to the city and all the superheroes across
Yeah,
multiple publishers are there or referenced to, and
you're like cherry picking.
You
through
are.
and trying
you
to find all
and
the people.
You look at it and you're just like, they fucking did it. Like
Yeah.
they've been like teeing this up, and you don't know what's coming, and you open the double page spread, and you're like, God, it's all here.
Yeah.
I'm just staring at. You just stare at that page for it seems like hours, just looking to see what references you can pick up. But
Yeah.
oh yeah, you're 100% right. A good double page spread.
I knew I'd be right. Greg, you're up with number 66.
Number 66, knowing the comic book reference in a book before you read the editor's note.
Oh, beautiful.
This is insane.
Is it really?
Read the top one, my next one.
Knowing what the editor's note is referencing. It's so good we had to do it
We're doing it
twice.
twice.
If you don't know, sometimes in a comic book you'll get a big word blurb and then a little asterisk at the end. And then that asterisk leads you to a box that says, hey buddy, go read, Captain America 42. And when you can go, you know what? I don't have to, because I know what the fuck I'm talking about. You just feel like a king nerd. You're like, this is why I've been ignoring my friends and family and reading all these dumb comic books for this exact moment right here, so I can tell the editor to go fuck themselves, because I know what's happening here.
I could have written that note.
Yeah.
I always wonder if the creators ever get like final approval on those. That there may be a reference to something, and then they're like, I have a piece of artwork. And then you wrote like, Swingin' Sam coming in to let you know that was in Spectacular Spider-Man, still available at comic shops. And you're just like, no, this is art.
Dan Morris is like, I'd like to speak to Swingin' Sam real quick, because he fucked up my flow
They
here.
do. They love to give you like their little like fun editor nicknames when they do those.
Tubular Tim coming in here to
Yeah,
see.
it's-
Get Stray Dogs number 7.
Always something like that. But yeah, I'd be interested to talk to a creator if there's ever been an editor's note. They were like, no.
I bet there's like an intern out there. Like I bet an editor reads through a comic
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, you talk about this thing happening. When did that happen? And then the writer's like, I don't know. I definitely remember reading it though.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, okay, Vargas, you need to flip through 4,000 issues of Ghost Rider to find out when Ghost Rider got that motorcycle part
And then Vargas chained up in the basement. Yes, of course.
Yes, ooh, feed me.
And just flipping through gobs and gobs of Ghost Rider comics.
And then you have to like report up to your guy so that he can write those 2 lines on the bottom of a single page.
Visceral Vargas oozing in. Read Ghost Rider 7.
All right, Vargas. Number 65.
So it was really and truly going to be when you know what an editor's note is, but I came up with a backup, and it is when the creators have dumb nicknames in the front of the book. I love that. I love when it's like, oh, smart Stan Lee coming at you.
Cranky Kirby drawing.
Yeah, Jack King Kirby.
Yeah.
And I mostly love it when they do it like nowadays. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo did that for the Dark Knight's Death Metal series.
That's right, they did.
Scott slamming death metal Snyder and Greg headbanger Capullo. Like
Greg likes music Capullo. It's
Yeah.
like, Greg, come on.
that stuff just like you can tell that there's like, you know, a lot of it just always feels fun when they add those extra little like pieces of flair.
They did it a lot in like Marvel Age and stuff like that, where they would just kind of like when they're just being like extra goofy and they're just like, listen, this isn't like super serious, so have a little fun with it, guys. And they're just like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I'm bonkers Jim Shooter.
Jim
That's as wild as the
stabbing
Marvel
shooter.
office has got.
Well, if you know anything about Jim Shooter, that's about as crazy as he gets.
All right, number 64 is going to be a well-placed signature. We've all had comic books signed in tragic places. A black ink on the blackest, darkest hole in a comic book cover, over the top of a character's face. Maybe it's a really clashing pen color or a dead Sharpie.
Dead
But
Sharpie.
every once in a while, you get a comic where it seems like each spot was made for one of the creators' signatures, and they look so choice signed. And shout out to Amanda Connor, who is the absolute queen of signature placement.
Yeah.
And has her very specific pen colors for the right covers and tests them before she signs anything. Everything she signs looks like purposeful and great.
And instructs Jimmy
She'll
Palmiotti,
tell
her
Jimmy
husband.
Palmiotti where to sign.
Yeah. And with what color.
Yeah.
She gives so much attention to each comic that's placed in front of her. Like,
yeah.
she is a gem and must be protected at all costs.
Truly.
Because she will make sure that your con experience and your comic book look amazing.
Yeah.
Number 63.
Having a designated specialty in bar trivia.
Oh, sure.
Everyone has their thing for trivia.
Yeah.
And knowing that you are the comic book / pop culture person is kind of cool.
Is it always comic book / pop culture?
It bleeds
guess
into one another.
MCU was like the culture for a while.
Yeah. I mean, bar trivia now has really evolved into like anything comic booky. Like you're the person now.
Yeah.
Like you're the captain. Because like there's music, there's weird recipe stuff, there's like all kinds of zany different categories now, and comic books have finally cemented itself, whether it be movies or actual comic books, into bar trivia.
I've been that person many a time.
Unfortunately, though, it also means you have to be an expert in Funko Pops. That's the downside.
Never.
But we're focusing on the positives.
Yeah. Funko positives.
Funko positives. 62, is that right?
62.
Got it. I love a good homage cover.
Yes.
And not specific. I mean, yes, the ASM 300 covers are fun and good.
Mm-hmm.
I like a good homage cover that pulls from outside of the comic book world.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's prompted this for me is I love a good Akira homage cover.
Yeah.
where it's, it's got the motorcycle and the character walking up from the bottom of the page.
Washington crossing the Delaware.
Sure.
Great homage.
Yeah. Any of those. I love when you can, when it's just it's a good cover, and then the cherry on top is that it's like a throwback to another thing that's also good and fun.
There are about 10 covers, classic covers, that constantly get homaged.
Yeah.
Whether it be Fantastic Four #1, Amazing Spider-Man 300, like Dark Knight Returns, those constantly get recycled. So I do like the idea of thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
And really testing.
Borrowing from a movie poster is really cool.
Yeah, testing nerd knowledge and just seeing because it adds to the collection.
Right.
So yeah, great pick. I love that. But we do need more Washington Crossing the Delaware homage covers.
Marvel did that a little bit with the Black Panther 25 covers, where they did the fine art through the decades.
That was really cool.
That shit was so sick.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Number 61. Completing a run.
Oh,
and
so simple.
Yeah, I'm not saying from a reading perspective. This for me, this is collecting.
Purchasing.
You've been going through back issues trying to put together a series of something, finding those last couple issues and being like, I've truly done it.
Yeah.
I have won the very beginning through the very ending, and I can put it in a brick and let it just
my quest is over.
Let it be. In your
then you walk into a cornfield and dissolve.
Exactly.
And
That's
done.
kind of how I felt when I did New Mutants, which was the biggest run of anything I've put together that I haven't. I wasn't like an adult during. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
I had to go back and buy back issues for all of those things.
Did you almost want to stop collecting comics then? Because you're just I finished a huge momentous thing. I'm done.
This is a very recent feeling because I just hit 10,000 comics, and I've been so focused on that number for years of someday I will hit 10,000, and this year I'm a little closer, and this year I'm a little closer. That when I hit 10,000, I kind of took a pause on how often I'm checking things online and how into constantly being well, if I pick these up, I'm a little bit closer. I feel like I kind of got over a hill now that I'm my collection's massive. I'm not working towards
a number
volume anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now your new goal is to pare down to 5,000.
Yeah, right.
Jesus.
Probably. But yeah, that being said about the back issue thing, it is also really satisfying when it's reading Batgirls and it went to issue 22 and you can be man, I was there at the beginning, I'm here at the end. There it sits, never to be broken up from its run until
till I die
until
and they're thrown
until
away.
this goes up in a house fire.
Of my own creation.
Greg?
Number 60.
60.
Going through someone else's collection.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like it's an intimate thing, not to be too weird, but you get to see what their tastes are. You get to see what goes into how they curate their stuff, what kind of variant covers they're into. Are they a Michael Turner person? Are they a Frank Chow person? Are they indie? Are they main too? And then as you do this with them, they usually start telling you stories of where they got a certain book, what that book means to them. And it's a fun way to kind of go through someone else's books and see what the differences are and what the similarities are.
It's a nerdy first date, whether you're on a date or not.
It kind of is. You get to know someone a little bit better. And that's kind of a bonding thing that this community and this comic book collecting doesn't really have a lot of bonding moments.
Yeah.
Aside from conventions and stuff like this. So I do enjoy going through other people's comic books and just kind of chatting with them.
Totally agree. It really, when you look at the change in eras, when we really started getting tons of variant covers, it stopped seeming like just a regular comic book collection and becomes more of you've curated art to your tastes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have options.
Yeah.
And it is cool to see what people put together.
Yeah. Because even like specifically avoiding variance speaks, right? Like
Totally.
that's a choice, right? Good one, Greg.
I get one. One every 8.
59.
nice. 10 off, baby. The 9-panel grid.
Oh, such a good one.
Perfect.
Such a good one.
This is
Vargas is.
this is the peanut butter and jelly of comic books, but it's peanut butter and jelly for a reason, right? Like,
Yeah.
it is what you see when you think of the modern comic book, right? Is Dark Knight Returns, news segment, 9-panel grid.
Right.
It's cut and dry what comic books are today. And I think it's an interesting study in what the medium is, where it is now, and then also how it can be changed, modified, used in certain ways. I think of shitty Dark Knight when I think of the 9-panel grid, because the whole exercise there was, does the format change when the art is bad? Right? Like you keep the same idea, the same structure, but you make it purposefully terrible, and does it change the message of the work as a whole?
Yeah.
And you can only really do that when you have a structure that is so cemented as something like the 9-panel grid.
Yeah.
Right. It's like trying to draw the Mona Lisa from memory.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but you would still have to have like the basic idea of what the Mona Lisa is for that to work.
right. Yeah.
Right?
It's just, it's a fun experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that pick. I think we'll probably get into other paneling stuff, like creative paneling stuff as the list goes on. However, there's something so classic about it that sometimes you read a modern comic that is just like, it's all over the place. And to me, this is like when you look at someone's sneakers that just have like all the plastic bits and reflective things and like a tag that's built on that's supposed to hang off the shoe and look like a price tag. And then you see someone wearing just like Converse and you're like, the Converse, that's a fucking shoe right there.
Right. Yeah.
That is a classic ass sneaker that looks incredible.
That's got good bones.
It's the
It
shoe.
is the sneaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's what the 9-panel grid is to me.
The Converse has been there for every sport.
Yeah, exactly.
Including hockey.
58, the error version.
Oh, surprise pick.
Yeah. I think it's just a really fun collector thing to have the copy that a limited run of was printed wrong or something.
That is inside baseball hyper nerd pick. Like that is like you.
That's us.
You live. That's what I mean. Like you live and breathe comic books to know that there's like a regular cover and then a whoopsie cover.
Yeah,
And
right.
I want the whoopsie cover because it's different.
Yep. I don't know what's the thing with like X-Force has a version where the direct to market box is inverted in color.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
The
sick.
UPC code box is accidentally like inverted for like the first handful of them and then they switched it.
Nice.
Dazzler #1, a lot of copies of that got printed without color on one of the ads, and then they fixed that before the run got completed, but still shipped out all the black and white ad copies.
Yeah.
So little things like that are just like, I have
Yeah.
Your first Spider-Gwen,
the smaller print version of that.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot. They were running out of like magenta ink throughout the course of that cover's printing, so it starts really like purpley pink, and then slowly gets like just like turns black
Yeah.
over the course of the print run. It's really
And they're like, oh, no one's going to care about that.
Yeah.
And then it becomes one of the biggest comic books of all time.
right. Yeah. All
a
right.
good one.
57.
57. Watching your favorite superhero get a lead in an event or become more popular in an era. I'm talking about currently Wiccan, Moon Knight, Mystique, through the X-Men through the past 5 years become like you having like a stan character or something that you love and slowly realizing and watching them enter the zeitgeist more you're just like, oh my god, like my guy went off junior varsity and is now playing in like the A team. Like this is so cool.
And you feel like you can walk through a comic shop and be like, I told all of you.
Yeah, I knew Mark Spector was going to be big. And you all laughed at me. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's such a flex.
You've got your 10 copies of the first appearance.
Yeah.
Just been sitting on them.
Yeah. You're like walking with them. You all laughed at me when I bought these.
Idiots.
Yeah. Now what do you think of Glob Herman?
All right. 56, Andy.
This is another kind of bigger, more abstract idea, but celebrity creators. I think
Ooh, like Taboo?
No, more like when a creator is so big that they would get identified walking through the streets.
Keanu Reeves.
Rob Liefeld.
Yes.
Oh.
Daddy Rob.
Okay,
Or
we're not talking about a celebrity right
Stan
now.
Lee.
Yeah, not a celebrity who is a creator. A creator who is a celebrity
Because of
their creator.
Robert Kirkman.
Robert Kirkman. Robert Kirkman.
I think about when we were at Boulevardia and we saw Jason Aaron.
Oh fuck.
And like we've met him and talked to him and he's like a very normal guy and he's a very normal guy to 99% of the world, but we were like, oh,
Yeah.
we love Thor.
But it was like fucking George Harrison walking into the beer tent when he entered. I was like, Jesus Christ, fucking Jason Aaron.
Look, he walks like a person.
And then everyone else didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I was ready to give up my chair for that man so he could sit down.
Exactly. Or even you think about like some of these people just walking through even a con floor, you know, like, oh my God, that's James Tynion. He's just walking around.
Yeah, seriously. It's incredible.
All right, I've got number 55 up next. And I'm going to say the 55th greatest thing about comics is reserving a major twist for the end of a first arc.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the time, in order to get people onboarded onto a new series, people put the whole crux of the thing as the twist at the end of the first issue.
Yep.
And
Huge
then,
mistake.
And then that is the status quo for the remainder of the series. Whereas a lot of creators like I think Rick Remender is probably a good person to do this, where they give you the first issue, they give you the first issue twist, and then by the 5th issue it changes again, and then it recontextualizes like how you're going to experience the story.
Yeah.
And I just love having that moment where I'm like, I thought this was one thing, I was enjoying it, and then it became something even grander that really became a payoff for investing yourself in something. A good like modern, I was trying to think of like a recent modern example, and I think Radiant Black did a really good job of setting up this new superhero character and then replacing him like immediately.
Almost immediately,
where you're just like, we spent a couple issues like thinking this thing that had legs enough to be like 50 issues easily, immediately like threw away the main character and made another person the main character. Just like brilliant. I love that.
And Invincible did it all the time.
Invincible was a great one. The Omni-Man turn. So many good moments in that.
Last Mermaid is another current example.
Such a great book.
Where it's, I mean, there were a lot of weird things about that book, but you get through the first like 5 or 6 issues, and then it's like, oh, that's what this book is. Like you read the first 5 and you're like, oh, I get it. This is wrapping up soon.
Yeah.
And then you get to that last issue and you're like, oh, this is like a story that's being told, not one that's finishing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Great pick.
Number 54 is up next.
Giving comics to the younger generation. I get great joy out of giving my sons and my nieces and nephews comic books that I know they're going to destroy, but I know that they're going to read them and look at them and flip through them and hopefully fall in love with them just like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Someone gave me comic books as a kid, and I remember being obsessed with them just because it was a whole different way of storytelling that I've been used to. It was like cartoons thrown onto page, and that started a love affair that is still going strong today. So I enjoy repaying the favor of giving the younger generation these comic books, and knowing full well that they're gonna not bag and board these and just kind of wreck them. But the fact that they're flipping through them, and looking at them makes you smile.
Yeah, opens up a whole other medium.
Yeah, exactly.
For people to explore and discover. I think it is like when people I know want to be like exposed to this, or they hear something so great and they want to experience it. I do feel like there's something lost when like we can really absorb ourselves into graphic novels, whereas there is kind of a learning curve with like how you experience it and how you're supposed to sequentially read things, and and focusing on both the dialogue and the inner dialogue at the same time, which kind of like go alongside each other, so you're reading two separate things at once through a lot of graphic novels. And I think that's tough for a lot of like adult readers who haven't been exposed to these things. So I do think that's clutch to
get them early,
get people early.
There's also a very specific joy about trading physical artifacts that's being more and more lost.
Totally.
You can even like, oh, you guys haven't seen whatever, my favorite movie. Oh, it's streaming on Netflix.
Oh, it's not actually.
Yeah, or even like, oh, here's my DVD copy. There's something more visceral about like just handing somebody a book that's like, this is yours now.
Yeah.
I'm past, like, this is the start of your own.
It's more important. It's a trinket. It's a journey. It's like a like in every Indiana Jones movie, he doesn't get a text. He gets like a full-on fucking scroll,
tablet,
or a tablet. You know what I mean? Like it's cooler. It's cooler to get that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I battle with this stuff because it's like we're getting away from our culture of things in some sense, which can be a good thing, but at the same time, the lack of mementos and belongings and
save tchotchkes.
What those mean, and having something to say like, oh, Greg gave me this, and he died of a cheese overdose, and well, R.I.P. to a real one.
Well,
rest in Parmesan.
Even beyond that, right? Name the first movie you ever watched. I don't know, but do you know the first comic you own? You've got it somewhere in this room, right? Yeah. Like, that's the thing. It's a link to the start of something.
Yeah. All right. That was actually number 53. I got my numbering off for a second. So Vargas, you're up at 52.
52. When comics win, big air quotes, real awards. There's a cool thing when it's like, oh, this comic book won a Pulitzer.
Yes.
That feels like, oh, I should probably read that.
Like when Watchmen won a Tony.
Yeah, definitely. When Watchmen, the movie, won the musical award, definitely.
It's so close to the EGOT. That was the hardest one.
If the Watchmen gets an EGOT, I think Alan Moore might explode.
Alan Moore will burst into flames.
Who watches the Watchmen?
I did it 5 minutes ago.
Honestly, I'd go see it.
I would definitely go see an off-Broadway production of The Watchmen.
Guys, we would be front row. There's no question. But no, I think there's a validation on both ends when, like, a comic book wins a major award, or you get like a major award-winning creator to write a comic. Like when Marvel pulled Ta-Nehisi Coates to write Captain America.
Yeah.
That was like a big thing because he's like a well-known thinker and writer.
Yeah.
And it validates the medium, I think.
Or like when they got J.J. Abrams' kid to write a Spider-Man story.
Yeah, with JJ. That's right.
With Papa JJ.
Yeah.
Daddy Abrams.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Greg. Thank you.
No, but I mean, it's like as respected as the Eisners are.
Yeah.
Anyone outside of comic books doesn't know what a fucking Eisner is.
Right.
But if you win like a Peabody or like a literary award, and it's on like the stickers on there, and you can go get it from Barnes and Noble, like schools and parents look at that differently, just like, oh, there must be something like educational here. Maybe we shouldn't burn Mouse.
Maybe we shouldn't burn Mouse. Is it too late to change the title of our podcast?
That is a good name. Okay, number 51. How about a cover gallery?
How about?
Bro.
In the back of comics,
Absolutely.
you see, now that we...
Shout out Dynamite.
Oh my God, totally. All these variant covers now. Dynamite does like 50 of them for every issue. But it does give you, I think, some peace to be like, I only need one of these. They're all in the back.
It bothers me way less
Yeah.
when I can see what I'm missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then realize, oh, I'm not missing a damn
I
thing.
don't need any of this. Yeah.
And I think too, before, maybe because we're older, like there is something about like collecting and not having an idea of like what's the cover to have, how rare are each of these, how many of them exist really, that it was like an interesting kind of key for you if it was an important book and you wanted to make sure you had this, that, or the other, or some special version of it. So it does kind of feel like when you're, when you're like so into card collecting, when you're a little kid and you're like buying cards and you get a checklist, you're like, fuck a checklist.
Lame.
That sucks. And then when you get a little older and you're like really into collecting, you're like, all right, our checklist.
You're like, fuck, checklist.
I can I can really keep track of all the things that I need and the gaps to fill.
I'll
like,
put this in the penny sleeve.
The cover gallery is what kind of felt like that to me.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it feels nostalgic when I get to it. All right. End of this episode. Coming in at number 50, Greg, take us home for part 2.
Sassy, robot, sidekicks. Talking Skeets, talking Herbie,
Name a third.
talking Ultron,
Sure.
talking Lady Ultron, talking who is the voice in the mansion, the Avengers mansion?
Jarvis?
Jarvis. Kit from Knight Rider. We'll throw him in there. It is such a fun writing device to have.
Yeah.
Superhero, usually kind of a lughead, paired with super intelligent robot that is constantly trying to save him and just in some way like annoyed that he has to be paired with this goon.
Right.
I love that. It's kind of like dumb hero, smart horse. Like it's like these are classic pairings that never get old. Like I will always read Booster Gold and Skeets. Like almost a better dynamic duo than Blue Beetle and Booster Gold.
Yeah.
Like it's like an old married couple.
I know. I do love Skeets.
Skeets is the best. I want my Black Label Skeets book.
Wow. Tom King.
Oops, all Skeets.
All Skeets.
All Skeets. That's how we going out with 50.
All right. Join us next time or stay tuned for the next entry, part 3, which will be entries.
25 through 49.
25 through 49. We can't wait to see you there as we get ever closer to that huge numero uno bestest thing of all for comics.
And as a reminder, these are in no particular order.
False. They're in the exact order that we're going in.
We're going to cash everything good. And number 1 is going to be like, blowing dust off a comic is nice.
We have to have a meeting after this and make sure that we have a good number 1.
I already know for sure right now what number 1 is going to be. I'm not going to spoil it.
Snagglepuss. That's the episode.
It's Rob Liefeld's feet.
Oh, good one.
Bye. First Issue Club podcast is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, the people responsible for our favorite drinks, the Space Camper Cosmic IPA family of beers. Our show is edited and produced by our hosts Mike DeStacy, Greg Lichtag, and Andy Vargas. You can find us on social media at First Issue Club, and you can join the supporters who keep our humble podcast going on our Patreon at patreon.com/firstissueclub.